It's not just an automaker. It's the very definition of a disruptive technology, a design company that's creating a revolutionary form of transportation, all focused on energy innovation. Tesla Motors, founded in 2003 by a group of engineers in Silicon Valley who wanted to prove that electric cars could be better than gasoline-powered automobiles. Greetings, everyone, and welcome from the Technology Association of Georgia. It's Tuesday, February 24th, 2015, and this is Tech Talk. On this edition, your host, Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella, speaks with Diarmuid O'Connell, one of the first 50 employees to join Tesla, and now the motor company's VP of Business Development. Diarmuid manages commercial relationships and all aspects of government affairs. Once just another visionary startup out of Silicon Valley, today, with more than 50,000 vehicles on the road worldwide, Tesla is providing cars without compromise, each new generation increasingly more affordable, and all helping the company work towards its mission to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable transport. The 2015 Georgia Technology Summit, undisputedly the tech event of the year. This year, it's all about disruptive innovations, the power to inspire. From the world's most notable thought-leading speakers to the top 40 innovative companies in Georgia, to the anxiously awaited presentation of the 2015 State of the Industry Report, to this year's inductee, to the exclusive and prestigious ranks of the Georgia Technology Hall of Fame. It all happens March 25th at the Cobb Galleria and brings together leading C-level executives, entrepreneurs, technology professionals, and academia, all in celebration and to recognize Georgia's technology community. Who better to be a keynote speaker at this year's event than Tesla's VP of Business Development, as Diarmuid builds on the theme disruptive innovation and explores the exciting expansion and the unique challenges in a disruptive technology that's transforming not only an industry, but an entire ecosystem of automobile manufacturing and distribution. It's a special and exclusive glimpse at what you will hear as Tino Tech Talks with Diarmuid O'Connell, Vice President, Development of Tesla, and the Georgia Technology Summit 2015 featured keynote speaker. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions.
Diarmuid, thank you for joining me on Tech Talk today.
My pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're excited. All of our constituents are excited that you'll be in for our Georgia Technology Summit on March 25th with a theme of disruptive innovation, the power to inspire. So thanks for agreeing to come into Atlanta and be part of that special event.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, Atlanta and Georgia in general are important markets for us, and it's great to have the opportunity to come down and speak to these issues and others related to our business and the general theme.
Terrific. So why don't we start with the big picture, the history of Tesla. I believe that you were one of the first in, maybe one of the co-founders. So talk a little bit about that, how it's come to the point today.
Yeah, in the technology sector, the founder label is a special label, and I want to be very clear. I was not one of the founders of Tesla Motors, but it is true I was one of the early employees. I think there's somewhere around 50 or so. So there was a small band of us who came together on this in the early days. 9 years later, we're a company of more than 10,000 people, and so it's been a wild ride and very gratifying. The origin of the company was less about starting a car company, as my boss Elon Musk likes to say. The world didn't need another car company, but what the world did need was a car company wholly focused on introducing electric vehicle technology, on addressing the critical need for sustainable transportation solutions, and that's what we're doing. I mean, that's the mission of this company. It's why the company exists. It's what we're trying to do. And it's the North Star for every decision we make, whether it's the kind of cars we're delivering, the kind of technology we're developing, or the way that we sell and service that technology. So it's been great. Since that beginning, when nobody was focused on electric vehicles, frankly, folks were focused on other kinds of alternative technologies. We've moved to a world where almost every major car company has got a credible electric vehicle offering, and that's great because we set the company up to create a market with the hope that others would come in and compete with us. We're kind of an ironic business in that respect. Certainly, we need to be successful as a business, designing and engineering and manufacturing and selling our own cars, but our success is really going to be defined by how many electric vehicles from all manufacturers are on the road as we go forward here. And our business is bringing forward a future where all electric vehicles are, or all cars on the road are electric vehicles. That's why we exist.
So that's interesting. I'll do the segue to the next question. I was going to ask it later, but if you think about the future, is that where you see the future going, say 10 years out, or is it longer than that? That most of the cars on the road will be electric, or what are you guys looking at in that regard?
Well, time scales are difficult to judge. Something on the order of 100 million vehicles are sold every year, and the average life of a vehicle is somewhere in excess of 10 years. So just turning over, just replacing the existing fleet is a daunting task. Obtaining a significant share of the annual sales worldwide is a significant task. But every journey starts with a single step. When we reach a plurality, a majority, and then ultimately a completely electric vehicle world it's hard for me to project, but I can certainly say with confidence that it's inevitable. The properties of an electric drivetrain, whether it's its inherent efficiency, the amount of energy required to move a car forward for a mile. I mean you can't find a better technology. In terms of torque performance, the acceleration performance that everybody loves. Again, there's no better technology. Electric vehicles are greatly exceed internal combustion engines in the main on this factor. And then the fact that they're clean and they're silent and all these other factors that they rely on an existing infrastructure. I mean, every room, every household in America practically has electricity delivered to it. So the truth is you can charge a car almost everywhere, and frankly much more easily than filling up a gas tank when you think about it. I think that the end is inevitable, but your question is a good one. When does it happen? I don't know, but we're doing everything we can to pull that future forward.
Move it faster. Yeah, that's really good. And does the automated vehicle have to go hand in hand with this? I mean, you guys have obviously a significant R&D group, but how do you look at the other advances that are taking place simultaneous to electric cars?
Yeah, there's a lot of different vectors of interest that are taking place in the technology of automobile transportation and autonomous driving, or autopilot as we describe it, is one of those. It is not a necessary prerequisite for the deployment of electric vehicles, but certainly electric vehicles expand one's imagination as to how one can implement autonomy or autopilot. And the reason for that is that we've taken by implementing an electric drivetrain in a vehicle as opposed to an internal combustion engine, which has hundreds of moving parts, you've taken a lot of the mechanical elements of the car away to the point where you've got a single rotor, a couple of gears moving in the vehicle. Your rolling gear is the wheels, the moving gear is the brakes and the steering. And so you've essentially created a rolling computer. And then when you exemplify that capability with the 17-inch touchscreen as we've done, which functions really as just a large iPad, you open up people's imagination of what you can be doing with the car's technology by implementing smart and effective software solutions. Further than that, imagining what one can do with one's time in the car. In our economy in the world, hundreds, billions of hours are spent in a car with the hands on the wheel, scanning the environment. Imagine what could happen if you reduced that burden of effort on the driver's part and gave them tools and communications technologies that allowed them to accomplish other tasks in the course of their day. That's not a right now technology; it's a future technology. But certainly, other manufacturers, even in Detroit this past year, have shown vehicles which have seats that swivel backwards. So, it's effectively creating a driving lounge or a riding lounge. It's an exciting future. The emergence of autonomous driving is unrelated to, is not directly related to. It's not unrelated. It's not directly related to the adoption of electric vehicles, but electric vehicles and their unique properties allow people to imagine the kinds of futures that we're talking about here.
Let's shift gears and talk a little bit about policy. We're in the midst in Georgia of our legislative session, which lasts about 40 days. And there's something, and I guess you can tell me if this is a federal piece, but the Franchise Practices Act, what is that? Because you guys are involved with that, I know.
Well, the starting point is how we sell cars. We're in the early phases of electric vehicle technology, and we believe that we are in the best position to represent that technology to the future. We're making huge investments in sales and service operations around the country and around the world to be evangelists for electric vehicle technology generally, to explain more about the company, and to highlight the properties of the cars that we're selling. And that's a substantial investment. Almost everywhere else in the world, you have manufacturers who sell cars directly to consumers alongside franchise dealers. So this is the case in Europe, it's the case in China. But in the U.S., because of the unique history of automobile here, we have evolved a system where almost all manufacturers sell through franchise dealers. And this has been the case since the early part of the automobile industry here, and it was because automobile manufacturers wanted to expand geography quickly and didn't want to bear the cost of or the investment necessary to create sales and service operations. So they contracted with moms and pops across the country in the 1920s and 30s. But since that, and at that time, a body of law known as the Franchise Practices Act were created at the state level. There is no federal law here, but at the state level, there is a body of law that governs the conduct between franchisors, the manufacturers, and their affiliated franchisees, car dealers. It's been a contentious relationship over the course of time, as sometimes is the case. But in some markets, it's evolved into a virtual monopoly or a de facto monopoly. But these Franchise Practices Acts have nothing to do with Tesla, because Tesla has never had any franchises and has no plans to. Nonetheless, automotive dealers have been trying to use these Franchise Practices Acts to bar us from our sales and service activities, to prevent us from coming to market. And, this is, classic monopolistic or protectionist behavior, but it's made possible in a couple of states by laws that are highly restrictive. In a lot of states, this doesn't matter for Tesla. I mean, Tesla, let's say in California, where I'm sitting right now, it's unambiguous that if you're a manufacturer who's never had a franchise dealership, then you're free to sell directly to the public. And this is the case in the vast majority of states. But in a couple of states, these Franchise Practices Acts have been, let's say, tuned up over the course of time by dealers who, let's face it, have a lot of local political clout to create these distribution monopolies. So if you're a manufacturer, you're forced to sell your car through them. We don't think that's appropriate, that's right, or even was part of the original theory of the Franchise Practice Acts and laws. So we've had to deal with this in a couple of states, and dealing with it in a legal context and soon probably in a legislative context in Georgia.
Well, it seems like, as you said at the beginning, competition's good, and from a technology association standpoint, we certainly welcome competition and feel like it's going to drive efficiencies and even price. Now, the dealers, I guess, that sometimes say what selling through them results in lower price, or that doesn't seem to be. I'm not sure I understand why that would be the case.
Well, yeah, I understand why they make the argument rhetorically, but it's not an argument founded well in fact. I mean, the fact is that manufacturers set the price of their vehicles based on competition with other manufacturers. These competitive pressures impact Tesla just as they do any other manufacturer. What a dealer does is come in after the manufacturer has set the price and charge a premium over and above what the manufacturer charges, so consumers are then end up paying more when buying from dealers than they ordinarily would from buying directly from Tesla. And so, this is just common sense, right?
Right.
Why would a dealer be interested in selling a car for nothing or for less than what the manufacturer offers? These are the facts, dependent on the argument that they make that a Ford dealership over here with a Ford dealership over there is creating lower cost to the consumer. That may be true between those dealers, but that's after the dealers put a markup on the car after they got it from the manufacturer. The fact is, there are very intense competitive pressures on Tesla and manufacturers to offer their vehicles as cheaply as they possibly can while still making a reasonable profit.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me, and hopefully as we go through the session in Georgia, there'll be a lot of opportunity to state this case. Diarmuid, we're out of time, but I do appreciate you joining me on Tech Talk today, and look forward to seeing you in March at our summit.
Thanks. Looking forward to it.